So what we have here is we have images. So we have a particular image here which is in the folder W3. It's in the folder W3, and when we look at the HTML code, we have image source. Where exactly is the image being pulled from? And piggy.jpg is located in the same folder as the index.html file. So therefore we don't need to specify a particular path. Okay, ideally, generally when you have lots of images, it's best to throw them into a folder called images. It's just a good sort of standard, and it keeps everything fairly clean and neat. So I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call it images. I'm going to call it images. And when you start working on your project, it's best to keep all images and everything generally organized in folders. And I'm going to drag and drop piggy.jpg into my images folder. Now I'm going to try to preview what the page looks like, and it's not there. The image has disappeared. And most of you may experience that when you submit assignments to me. There's going to be a number of reasons for that. Firstly, the path to where the images may be correct. Secondly, there may be a possibility that there is no image in that folder. And also you may have, thirdly, forgot to upload it to the NED server. So whenever you're uploading your assignments, you don't need to drag and drop individual files. You could just drag and drop the whole folder, so everything gets copied across to the NED server. So based on this, I've actually copied my piggy.jpg into my images folder. What do you think the syntax or the path should be for this particular line? So I'm going to give you a few minutes to try to figure that out. So how would you update this in order for the image to appear, considering that our piggy.jpg is in a folder called images? So I'll give you a couple of minutes to see if you can figure that out. So generally I've actually put the folder name images. There is a folder here called images, and in that folder I have piggy.jpg. So one thing you need to bear in mind is whenever you create folders, so right at the top we're going to have the root folder. It's going to be the root folder. And in this root folder you'd probably have index, and excuse the writing, the index.html. Then you may have another folder called images, and in that folder you may have other images. So in order for us to place these images that are in the images folder, we have to specify the images folder, then backslash, and then the image name. Okay, now that we've got that, I'm just going to create another folder. I'm going to create another folder, and I'm going to call it files. Files. And I'm going to copy index into my files folder. Okay, now of course this is not going to work because I've got W3, then I need to put files / that should be the correct URL now. And you can always go into files and double click on it. So now if I refresh, let's go back in, let's try again. Okay, there. So now if I refresh, my image has disappeared. Now what would the correct path be in this particular case? So in this particular case I have a folder that's called files, where I have my index.html, another folder where my image is set. So what do I need to do there? So I'll give you maybe 5 minutes to try to figure that out. And remember, you can go online and you can try to see what type of paths and how you actually enter specific paths. So this is more like file management. So I'll give you 5 minutes and I'll pause the video. Okay, so if we look at this, so we've got two folders. One of them is files, the other one is images. So the structure, this is how it is. So we have two folders, one of them is called files, the other one's images, and we have index.html in the files folder, and we want to be able to access piggy.jpg. So what we need to do is, you need to go up a folder. We need to come out to this folder, and then we need to go into images and then access piggy. And the syntax for this is going to be dot dot allows you to go up a level from that particular folder. So dot dot, then you're going to say images, then piggy.jpg. So when we look at this section now, and let me change some of these. So this dot dot, that section basically allows us to come over here right at the top, and then we can actually go into our images. So dot dot will allow us to go up, and then the images section here, that allows us to go into the images folder to be able to access piggy.jpg. Does that make sense? So now if we try this, so we're going to do dot dot / images, and now if we refresh it, there's our images. There's a particular image that we had, which is piggy.jpg. And of course we can also have another folder within another folder. So I could say a folder, so I'll just call this index, and I'll copy my index into my index folder. So now we have a structure slightly different. So what we have in this particular case, so we have another folder called index, which is under the files folder. So now in order to access that image, which is in the images folder, I need to go up two folders. So it's going to be dot dot / dot dot /. So that's going to be one. I'm going to be here at this particular point. Another dot dot is going to get me back to the root, and then I'm able to go back into the images and access piggy.jpg. So now in this particular case, I'm just going to have, and obviously it's saying the file has moved, so I'm going to re-upload it. Now if I refresh here, let's open that, it's going to say the image is not there. And why is that so? Because I've actually put that into a separate folder. So now I'm going to do dot dot again, so it's going to go up 2 levels, and there it is, we have access to that again. And we could also do the same thing with the images folder. We could have an images folder, and in there we could have other folders. So if you have a fairly complex site, you may maybe have a gallery of particular images. So I could have, let's say, lots of piggies. So I could create another folder, and I could call it piggy, and I could throw piggy.jpg into that. And now in order to access this, I have to type in piggy folder name. So I don't want you just dumping images in the same folder as your index or your HTML files. So you do need to have some kind of a hierarchy or some form of organization. I mean, yes, you could do without that. But if it's a fairly complex site, and say if you have, I don't know, 400 images with 50 HTML pages, there's going to be a point that it's going to take you much longer to locate images, or if you're deleting them, making changes. Whereas if they're organized, it's easier and far more quicker to access them.